Now let's talk about the next movie in our list, Booth. No, not Booth, Phoonk. See, I was originally set to watch Booth, also an RGB flick which came in highly recommended, but some of you all told me not to watch Booth and instead watch Phoonk because unlike Booth, it's not a carbon copy of Raat, but a bit like Raat, but much better. So I did, and congratulations guys, I think I just watched Raat again. Okay, maybe not a reboot or remake of Raat, but Phoonk is more or less a spiritual successor to Raat, as in it repeats more or less the same story beats. There is this idyllic upper middle class family living a seemingly happy life when something happens and their daughter is taken over by an entity. The parents then resort to science but fail, things get worse, and then ultimately they seek the help of a tantric in the last 30 minutes of the movie or so, and then some crazy shenanigans take place, ultimately saving the daughter. Cue happy ending. A plot synopsis is almost redundant at this point, so let me just tell you how I feel about the film. Now, I personally believe that every film needs to be judged based on its own merits and demerits, and not how I, a random online film critic with almost zero filmmaking experience, would have done something different. But I think it's more than fair to benchmark the film against other films in the genre, like I do it all the time. But with this film specifically, I think it would be pretty fun to compare and contrast it against Raat directly, as it basically follows more or less the same plot trajectory and is by the same filmmaker as well, albeit with some changes, for better or worse. So let's do that. In a nutshell, Phoonk fixes everything that made Raat exhausting, but then completely fumbles what made Raat memorable in the first place. For starters, the pacing of the movie is much better than Raat, primarily due to it being 20 minutes shorter than Raat, which may not seem like much, but I'm pretty sure if Raat had taken 20 minutes off by shaving down on the boring bits from the slow as first half, I would not be whining that much about that. But the pacing wins not only because of a shorter, leaner runtime, but also because of what actually happens in that time as well. See, unlike something like Raat, there are no boring sequences in Phoonk. Everything exists to create meaningful drama and to move the plot forward, so much so that I hesitate to call the time between the horror sequences in Phoonk downtime in any meaningful way. I mean, the first horror sequence in Phoonk actually happens only around the 40-minute mark into the movie, but I was not even remotely bored till then. Meanwhile, I was waiting for someone to put me out of my misery while forcing myself through the nap certified non-horror sequences in Raat, which were almost pointless and exist only to act as a bridge between the horror sequences. And it's not just the drama and the plot. Another factor that made Raat a sludge to get through was the fact that the lead characters inhabiting Raat had the personality of plain oatmeal and felt like NPCs in their own film or game or whatever. This is not the case with Phoonk, where our leading character Rajiv has an actual personality with well-defined character traits, chiefly the fact that he's an atheist and a really proud one at that, who has his philosophical underpinnings challenged when supernatural events start occurring at his own home. I mean, how's that for drama? And Rajiv is brought to life by the Kannada actor Sudeep, who has more than enough charisma to carry the entire film. But that won't be necessary, as we have a glorious antagonist in the form of Madhu, played by Ashwini Kaleskar, who delivers a campy, over-the-top and thoroughly entertaining performance. She's a joy to watch every time she's on screen, and despite her shorter screen time, gets enough opportunity to more than be a glorified cameo, unlike Om Puri in Raat. Not saying that the cast in Raat did a bad job, but like I said in my Raat video, excellent performances all around from Revati when she's taken over by the entity. But outside of that, the characters were as exciting as blank spreadsheet, with Revati's non-entity character being almost borderline cringe in her vanilla neighborhood girl role. So to summarize Phoonk, unlike Raat, it has interesting charismatic characters, including a well-defined antagonist who are given enough screen time to shine and be themselves. This combined with the shorter runtime and engaging drama courtesy of the characters and their moral and philosophical conflicts contribute to a certain thematic weight to a film, as well as making it so much better than Raat on these respects, ultimately leading to a film that is, simply put, fun, which is not exactly how I would describe a film like Raat. And by the way, before I go any further, if you have seen both films, tell me right now, which one scared you or which one did you actually like? Drop it in the comments. Now come closer for a bit. Let me deliver the plot twist a little earlier because you're very special to me. I would rank this film on the same overrated tier as Raat. Whoa. Why such a low rating after so much praise? Well, that is because despite all of its negatives and its overrated tier ranking, Raat is still a very unique horror experience. Like I said many times in my tier listing of Raat, when the horror hits, it hits, despite the snoozeworthy downtime and the NPC characters and the atrocious pacing. Maybe that's why it is still beloved to this day, even if I myself and others might find it not so scary and not worth your time. Meanwhile, Phoonk, with all its positives, is a blast while it lasts, but there is nothing to make it stand out from all the contemporaries and is ultimately a forgettable film despite a fun time. And there are some other definite negatives to Phoonk as well that drag down the experience further. For starters, none of the horror sequences are as unique or as memorable as those in Raat, and I would go as far as to say that the last action horror sequence of the film is straight up schlock, with the lead being thrown into walls like it's some kind of silly Telugu film. Yeah, the finale alone takes away from the gravitas of the film. No, that would be incorrect, I guess. I think the movie started losing its way from the point it introduced the Tantric character. Like I said, in closely following with the story beats of Raat, a Tantric character is introduced to solve our supernatural headaches, but he's no Ompuri, he's all melodramatic and campy, and not in a strange and creepy way like our antagonist, but more in a overacting, you went full retard sort of way, and feels very out of place, like a clown in a library with his cock out, and once again comes in very late in the film with only 15 minutes left in the runtime, and the film after its introduction transforms into this campy, over-the-top, nonsensical caricature of Raat from that point onwards, which made me exceptionally disappointed considering the point and a serious tone the film had built up so far. Then there is also the fact that it is not exactly great on a technical level as well. Sure, there is this one cool, slow zoom in and zoom out sequence, but nothing that carries the steadicam energy of Raat. And in the one sequence where it does do something that captures your attention, camera movement wise at least, it overindulges to a nauseating extent. Also, something unintentionally hilarious that sticks out is that there is this strange filmmaking choice to focus on inanimate objects on screen for absolutely no reason, which is supposed to add to the horror, but it ends up being laughable by the end, which I guess is similar to the weird everyone lost way too much at the theater scene in Raat. But random movie quirk aside, I guess move on. Anyway, camera work aside, on a technical side, some of the practical and visual effects are done neatly enough, but whatever effects, practical, visual and CG was done for the finale feels cheap and almost laughable. Finally, I don't think it's right to disown child actors, but I'm sorry, the haunted child in this film is nowhere as compelling as Minnie in Raat. Unfair comparison, I know, but I still needed to say that. You know what? Bringing it all together, Phoonk, just like Raat, had all the makings of a peak film, but unlike Raat, which had consistent bad filmmaking decisions throughout, which made the film a chore to get through, the flaws of Phoonk, technical or otherwise, could have been ignored as the core premise of an atheist facing an ideological and philosophical battle when his daughter gets possessed is thoroughly compelling and kept me engaged for most of the film's runtime. But ultimately, the film drops its ball in the finale and turns an otherwise poignant film into a campy, nonsensical schlockfest. And for that reason, I'm gonna put Phoonk in the overrated tier. What a shame. Another case of wasted potential. You know what? It is a bit strange that Raat and Phoonk are overrated for different reasons. Raat is like a matcha, intense, divisive, and an acquired taste. Phoonk is a bit like green tea, smooth, inoffensive, and ultimately forgettable. Regardless, both are extremely overrated if what you actually wanted is some really strong tea. That was a horrible analogy. Let's move on to the next film.